and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we walk.
Really? Okay. So the internet stopped there. All right. Come on. Here we go, folks. It's all loading up. Eventually.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
I have to work on those volume levels. They are way too loud in certain spots. All right, so we're having a little trouble getting online with everything. But with that being said, we're going to continue anyway. I hope everyone's able to keep up with it because the internet doesn't like us sometimes, and we just try and deal with it. So, folks, it's been a little while. I'm happy to be back with you all. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am Michael Voss, your host here, and the Dragon of the Southern Tier. And I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the fun things that are going on in our media. I know it's been a little while since I came back from Europe, and I haven't been able to keep pace as best as I wanted. Got sick for a little while, and so I'm better now. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today is something that you've probably seen. Actually, something you've heard about quite a bit. Back in March, in matter of fact, March of 2019, you probably saw this on Facebook, possibly also on Twitter, where there was a meme that said that Tim Allen, quote, said, quote, President Trump's wall costs less than the Obamacare website. Let that sink in, America. Now, that's the quote, and that's the meme. You've seen it almost without doubt. You've seen this since somewhere between March and today. And suddenly, recently, it's become a big deal. Suddenly, recently, there are a lot of people, a lot of Democrats, and a lot of media who are very concerned that people are seeing this. And you have to ask yourself the question, why? Why are they suddenly, amazingly, very upset about this? What's the big deal? Well, the answer about that goes back in time. We have to actually look at the beginnings of this to understand where it ends at. So let's go back in time. And now in August, before the most recent Democratic debate, we saw that there was a poll that was done. And it was a poll that was also done in January. And that poll, as reported by Politico in their story, The Poll, Dems more likely to support candidate who backs Medicare for all over fixing Obamacare, which was published on August 28th of 2019. In that, it says that in January, 57% in President of Democrats say they were a candidate who backs Medicare for All health system over expanding the Affordable Care Act. The number has now risen to over 65%. So keep this in mind. When we're talking about this, healthcare, one of the biggest issues for the 2020 election for Democrats. It is one of the biggest issues of the 24 Democratic hopefuls. And more importantly, in September, the 10 Democrats that were running for or rather were on stage in the third Democratic debate. Healthcare was a big deal. And it has been a big deal all year long. And we have seen that the Democratic candidates since January, have been laser focused on saying that they don't care about Obamacare. They all support, or almost all of them support, Medicare for all, single payer health care. Everybody gets the same health care. It's universal. It's all the different names they use for it. Universal health care, single payer health care, Medicare for all the same thing. And it's a horror story when you really think about it. But there's something that's very important about this, because while the meme in January 57% of Democrats said they believed in this. The Democratic candidates jumped all over this as one of their big themes. They all support this. They all, except 3, have some kind of idea about a Medicare for all, and that this is the way that we have to go forward. This is what we have to do. And this is their big, big issue. Except in saying that, one of the things that hasn't been addressed by the news media, Politico didn't pick it up, Washington Post didn't pick it up, is they're saying, and they're admitting to the American public, Obamacare failed. That Obamacare has completely failed. There are, and you can look this up for yourself, I've already done so, you can look up the census.gov and look at the article is The Most Uninsured Were Working Age Adults, published on September 12th. And we find out that, and this is from 2018, September 12th of 2018, 27.3 million Americans were uninsured in 2016. Now, that's an important thing. And I know a lot of people focus on the fact that the number of uninsured has increased in 2017 and now projected in 2018 at 28 million. That's not the important thing. 27 million people in 2016 were uninsured. Most of those people, according to the census, were between, they were younger people, here it is, and they were uneducated or less educated. They were high school education or less. Most of them came from the South. Most of them are young. The majority of them tend to be 26 to 34 years old. Now you say to yourself, well, Mike, why does that matter? How does that tie into what's going on with the 2020 Democrats? Let me try and explain. The fact is that we were promised in 2010 by President Obama and the Democratic Party that you would be able to keep your doctor, that you would have health care. Everyone in America would get health care and everyone would be covered. And it would just cost you a little bit of your freedom and a little bit of money. That's what Obamacare is, or the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, that everyone would be covered. It's going to take care of everything. And you don't have to go to single payer because the Obamacare would take care of it. Except we have learned since that day, according to Senator Kristen Gillibrand herself on ABC News in 2014, that was a lie. You couldn't keep your doctor. In fact, it was the PolitiFact lie of the year in 2013 that you cannot keep your doctor, as millions and millions of Americans learned. That Obamacare doesn't cover everyone well, and that it mandated people to do what the Democrats wanted, not what you wanted. As an example, under Obamacare, I am required to have prenatal care. I'm a man. I can't get pregnant. And as a man, I don't need OBGYN, but I pay for that. That's the health care you have to pay because I am required, because everyone is the same. There is no difference under Obamacare or single-payer health care. But this was supposed to there were some 30 million Americans who were without health care, and we were promised that Obamacare would get everyone covered. Except we know for a fact from the census, again, I'll show you the number right here, very first paragraph, 27.3 million people are not insured during the time that President Obama is still in office. So you have to wonder, it failed. It was a complete failure. You didn't get to keep your doctor. You didn't get to keep your health plan. You didn't get to get coverage that is good for you, and you paid more for it, and the government became a little bit more powerful because it could tell you what to do. And it still didn't cover everyone. 27 million people didn't do it. Now, that's a pretty big deal. And you would think it would be a very, very big deal, especially for Democrats who are suddenly saying, well, we've got to do something. And the answer is, according to Bernie Sanders and so many others, Medicare for all. Bernie Sanders, Medicare for all is the answer. because it's going to resolve this. It's going to finally get everyone covered. Everyone's going to be covered. And it came to a head in September 12th, heard Amy Klobuchar, one of the Democratic candidates, respond to Senator Bernie Sanders about the Medicare for All bill and how it destroys choice for every single American. You don't believe me? Maybe you missed it. Here it is. According to the article on Real Clear Politics, Klobuchar on Medicare for All, quote, "While Bernie wrote the bill, I read the bill. I think it's a bad idea." That not good enough for you? That's okay. Let's actually hear her words. This is Amy Klobuchar. Once it loads up. You know, you want to go to the horse's mouth. You want to have the coverage of them directly. You get everything set up and then it doesn't play. All right, I'm going to come back to that in a second. But essentially, Klobuchar on the stage in September said that the very...
But when it comes to our health care and when it comes to our premiums, I go with the doctor's creed, which is do no harm. And while Bernie wrote the bill, I read the bill. And on page 8 of the bill, it says that we will no longer have private insurance as we know it. And that means that 149 million Americans will no longer be able to have their current insurance. That's in 4 years. I don't think that's a bold idea. I think it's a bad idea.
So let me stop, and you can look at the clip yourself, but I think it says everything we need to know. 149 million Americans will lose choice, will lose health care coverage, will be subjected to the will of Democrats. Again, lose because of something. That being said, did the Obama their fact check Eric Trump's for Pinocchio claim that Obamacare's website costs more than Trump all. That's disingenuous. That's not even close to true, folks. It wasn't Eric Trump's claim. That was a meme. He reposted the meme. He didn't say it was true. It doesn't matter even if he did. It's a meme. It was around since March. And Eric Trump only made a comment in September of the same year. It's not Eric Trump's. But the media needs to connect Trump to something they want to say is negative. They have to connect this negative. And they want to let you know, no, that's not true. It's not true. Not at all. Because, the Obamacare website, it only cost at a minimum $834 million. That's the best case scenario. The best case scenario is it cost $834 million, as stated in 2014 in the Washington Post article, as they quoted these to the Senate. And if you're wondering where that is, here's the article itself, senate.gov, in their article. And here it is. It's my understanding that as of February 28th, 2014, total of approximately $34 million on IT contract range, according to, again, that same article. In 2014, Bloomberg News said that the actual cost exceeded $2 billion. Now, the article goes on to say, well, that's not even close, because we've already spent $1.6